News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. All right, so this horrifying bridge collapse today in the Port of Baltimore. You have some people saying that it may have Laura Logan, former CBS News reporter, saying that it was a cyber attack. Quote, multiple intel sources, Baltimore bridge collapse was an absolutely brilliant strategic attack on U.S. critical infrastructure, most likely cyber. Our intelligence agencies know it. She tweeted, I retweeted it on my Twitter feed for you to look at. In information warfare, my Twitter feed, by the way, is at Chris Crock Show. That's at Chris Crock Show, CHRISKROK. She says, second busiest strategic roadway in the nation for hazardous material, now down for 4 or 5 years. They just divided the U.S. along the Mason-Dixon line, exactly like the Civil War. Bridge was built specifically to move hazardous material, fuel, diesel, propane gas, nitrogen, highly flammable materials, chemicals, oversized cargo that can't fit into their tunnels. The supply chain now crippled. Make no mistake, it was an extraordinary attack in terms of planning, timing, and execution. They have figured out how to bring us down. As long as you stay away from the teeth of the U.S. military, you can pick the U.S. apart. We are arrogant and ignorant. Lethal combination. The ship never got in the approach lane in the channel, she claims. They choose a full moon, so they would have maximum tidal shift. For every $100 that goes into the city, 12 comes from shipping. Believe this will cripple the city of Baltimore at a time when they do not have the resources to recover. That is very accurate. Baltimore is going to be in the red overall, period, shortly. The budget shortfalls are for 2025, $418 million short. 2026 and 27, they're going to be 572 million short, 328 million short. For 2028, they're going to actually deteriorate substantially. Maryland's budget outlook claims structural deficit of more than $1.8 billion, and they are number one in the nation for mortgage debt increases. Now that's before the bridge collapse. When you take into effect that there are 15,000 jobs out of the Port of Baltimore, and that there's 144,000 jobs that surround those 15,000 jobs that are at the port. When you take into effect that there's 847,000 autos, light trucks in 2023 alone that were shipped out of there, the most of any port for 13 straight years, the first in the nation handling automobiles, light trucks, farm and construction machinery, as well as imported sugar and chips, the second in the country for exporting coal, 6th for importing coffee. This is a disaster, clearly. And the Chinese communists, we have 7 Chinese nationals who have indictments were dropped by our government in the past 24 hours, part of a pervasive effort to sneak malware into our critical American utilities, including electric grids, water supplies. Of this software buried within critical U.S. infrastructure, intelligence officials believe that Beijing installed the malicious code in an effort to thwart the U.S. efforts to defend Taiwan. $10 million reward for the information to that group and the defendants. Separately, the DOJ indicted individual Chinese hackers for what Merrick Garland calls the 14-year effort to target and intimidate Beijing's critics around the world. So with all that, it's certainly possible there was a cyber attack. I don't know. Do you believe this collision was an accident, or do you think it could be some kind of a cyber attack that caused the collision? Do you think taxpayers outside of Maryland should have to pay for this bridge rebuilt, especially when they've been paying $4 each way by the toll bridge to maintain it and to keep it? Why would we have to pay for that? And even though Baltimore's broke, that's their problem, not ours. It's the state of Maryland's problem, not ours. What do you feel is the most dangerous bridge you've ever crossed? Did you ever really think that your life is in danger crossing one of these ones? Had a bridge ever given you like a panic attack? If you look at the one in Louisiana, in Lake Charles, Louisiana, it's called the Pistol Bridge, or the Calcasio River Bridge. That thing is a ramp. It is a ramp. I've been on that one. Now I remember that one. That's scary. That is a scary one. It is. Because you're like going up it and you see the end of it at the end because it goes straight up almost at some point. You're like, what the heck is this? All right, 3 lines open. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. We had Ray and Denton. I wanted you to be able to finish off, and then we're going to get to Bill and McKinney. Ray, go ahead and continue on with what you were saying. Because we talked to Ray first, right, Producer Garrett? Yeah. Ray, I want you to finish off where we were heading, because where did you leave off at? I want to make sure we hit on what you were saying.
I worked on an oil well service boat
That's why
and
you know.
I just know that there's, I worked for Halliburton.
Okay.
All right, and I worked on one of their boats, and now on that particular boat there was 2 generators, 2 generator engines, and during a switchover, you would have just what occurred there, as far as the lights would come on, go out, and come back on again.
What does that tell you then? What do you think as you're watching this? And go ahead with your next comment that you were about to do.
I think somebody screwed up and switched generators at the wrong time. And that would be a chief engineer on board the ship.
No, wait a minute. They're having a crisis and they switched generators at the wrong time, or they did not have a crisis. It was a caused crisis by somebody switching 2 generators. What do you?
I think they were switching generators as they were leaving port.
Switching generators from what to what? Like, what was that?
But switching over, you don't run your generators continuously. You switch from one generator to the other generator. That way you can check the oil in them. You can check them out, make sure they're bright.
Oh, you mean because the generator is what powers it, period, because it's not plugged into a source. And so the generator...
Exactly. And that would operate your GPS.
Okay.
It would operate your electronic controls. Now, the throttle controls on most ships that I know of are hydraulic controls. So, in other words, when you throttle back or you go into reverse, that's all operated through hydraulic systems, which is a self-pump in the handle itself, which turns your engines full power to reverse.
You're saying you think it's switched from one generator to the next,
just by the lights
at the wrong time,
coming back. Yep.
Like, dude, wait till we're out at sea here in about 20 minutes or so, right?
Exactly.
All right, man. You don't think there's any way it was a cyber attack, in your humble opinion, then?
I don't think the cyber attack is what happened. I really don't, because I don't.
Why would they be steering in the wrong way, though? It's just because they lost power, you think?
He lost power, and that's what controls your steering and your rudders.
Interesting. Well, I appreciate your call, Ray.
Air and electric assist, so.
Thank you for your great call. Appreciate you. Bill and McKinney, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Chris. Scariest bridge, I would say, is either the Keys when you're heading down to Key West from Miami.
Oh,
That's
boy.
a little creepy. Beautiful, but creepy if there was ever an incident. And I'd say Bellevue, Washington, getting into Seattle is also pretty high bridge there also. I lived in the Bay Area, and that Oakland Bridge is a mess also. But
okay, I'm looking at the
anyway,
7-mile bridge, it's called, for the Keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it before. That's profound. I mean, you're out in the middle of nowhere. I wonder if you ever see a car breakdown out there.
I didn't. I just kind of cruised along. It's so beautiful, you kind of don't pay attention.
I bet. It's so beautiful. You gotta try to focus on the road because you might fly off it because you're staring at everything else. What about what was the other road you had mentioned? The bridge going into, what's it called? What bridge going into Seattle?
It's the bridge between Bellevue, Washington, and Seattle, Washington.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a cool one too. But my point was actually about the bridge that was hitting Baltimore. That was the Francis Scott Key Bridge, and
right.
as like 9/11 was an attack on capitalism, New York City. I feel like this. People don't realize this. Francis Scott Key wrote our national anthem, right? Rockets,
yes.
Red Glare, all that.
Yeah, and
I feel like
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought there might be some symbolism to whoever, if it was intentional.
That's a good point. I mean, that's our national anthem, and why not take a duty on our national anthem if you're going to attack us? That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a very good point. I'm looking at the one from South Bellevue to Seattle, and that's interesting. It goes low though, doesn't it? It looks like it's low when it comes down.
Yeah, it's a short. Yeah, it's not super high. I don't know why I got a little creeped out on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes down pretty quickly. Then it's flat right over the sea. Or whatever it is, the port, or whatever. I don't know if that's freshwater or saltwater. I don't know. I'm not familiar with it.
Probably, it's Bay.
Okay.
Puget Sound.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, it blows your mind on some of these things, right? Like how you build this, the science that goes into it doesn't make any sense to me. What you and I might build and think it would be great would sound with an engineer would say that's going to fall apart fast, and we wouldn't know why. Because that's their job.
Well, how vulnerable we are, right? This shows us how vulnerable. You have millions of ships passing all year, all the time, and then one just rams
That's right.
a support, and then the whole thing's
or planes.
over.
You and I have been on planes a whole bunch of times. I mean, countless times over the years, and we'll still do it countless times. And one has a crash, and we freak out about it. But it's safer in that plane than it is on a car. In a car. I appreciate your call, Bill.
Picture.
Thank you. Boy, you guys have been dynamite tonight with your thoughts, your reactions, your info, and the amount of people that are experts in this realm tonight that called in is pretty awesome. Okay, this is beyond insane. The Mexican president, AMLO, is literally blackmailing Joe Biden because our president in our country, because he can, because Joe is a feckless, afraid, a reactionary president. He doesn't lead. He reacts to crises. Dana Perino was saying that today on the 5 this afternoon, and this administration does nothing but reacts to things. That's all it does. It waits for crisis and reacts. It doesn't prevent them or do things to be aggressive in a good way. It waits and it reacts to crises that it allows to happen. And that's exactly what happened with Mexico, with these illegals flooding our country that Joe wanted and invited. But Mexico is now openly on 60 Minutes blackmailing us. You're going to hear it yourself. 2 different cuts from 60 Minutes with the translator, obviously. That's next. And of course, we'll talk about that as well. You know, who do you think is in control here, the United States or Mexico? Because it sure sounds like Mexico. And are you interested in negotiating with AMLO on his demands? And what do you think Biden should do in response to his demands? You'll hear all about that coming up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, if you wanted to hear what it's like to have a leader of a country blackmail the United States, you have it. I have audio of that to play for you right now. And it's quite amazing when you see that our President Joe Biden is allowing all these crises to happen and then responding to those crises. Instead of leading and preventing crises, he responds to them. And the illegal invasion, I've never seen or I've never had a third world type country leader. Never seen Mexico treat us like this. Wait till you hear what AMLO says in this 60 Minutes interview. This is unbelievable. He's openly saying, I control the illegals coming into your country, and you're going to give me what I want. And I have several demands. None of them are realistic, but you're going to do them. Otherwise, I'll keep invading you. I wish I were exaggerating, but I'm not. Hear AMLO in his own words. Here's 2 pieces of audio with a translator and CBS, 60 Minutes.
With the ear of the White House, President Lopez Obrador proposed his fix, that the United States commit $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, lift sanctions on Venezuela, end the Cuban embargo, and legalize millions of law-abiding Mexicans living in the U.S. If they don't do the things that you've said need to be done, then what?
The flow of migrants will continue.
Your critics have said what you're doing or what you're asking for to help secure the border is diplomatic blackmail. What do you say?
I'm speaking frankly. We have to say things as they are. And I always say what I feel. I always say what I think.
If they don't do those things, will you continue to help to secure the border?
Yes, because our relationship is very important. It is fundamental.
Let's hear a little bit more from AMLO.
Everybody thinks you have the power in this moment to slow down migration. Do you plan to?
We do, and want to continue doing it. But we do want for the root causes to be attended to, for them to be seriously looked at.
Somebody needs to tell them that Kamala already did that. Kamala! Remember that about 3 years ago? She was assigned to go figure out the root causes of all this. Remember she said in her nasally, annoying, high-pitched voice, root causes. She had like 400 times in 2 days in all these media interviews and speaking. Root cause, root, cause, root, cause. So what is he saying? You need to take care of the root cause. Kamala's already done that. She fixed it 3 years ago, dude. What you talking about, Willis? So here's his demands, to go over them again. He wants the United States to commit $20 billion a year to poor countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. So he wants to make his third world friends rich with our money to corrupt for their corrupt purposes. And Kamala already talked about making them wealthy, throwing money at them already. She already did that. He wants more, $20 billion. So there's his bribe, plus lift sanctions on dictatorship and illegitimate President Nicolas Maduro, the real president, according to the United States, according to me, and according to the world, the regular world people out there, the first world people out there and all over the world, is Juan Guaido. He won. But a dictator named Maduro took over, and he wants us to leave Maduro, the dictator, alone. Maduro is besties with Iran. He wants them to be cool and to let them be. Let them pump oil. Let them work with Iran and give Iran what it needs and vice versa. He says also we need to end the Cuban embargo. Help those communists over there. And legalize law-abiding Mexicans living in the U.S. Every Mexican in the United States of America that's here illegally, he wants us to just wave a wand and legalize them all. What do you say? Are you in? Do you agree with this blackmail that AMLO is saying? Otherwise, as he said, he controls the flow. He's the one who can slow it, or he's the one that can flood us. So he's blackmailing us. What do you say to his blackmail? And here's my questions for you. Who do you think is in control here, the United States or Mexico? And are you interested in negotiating with AMLO on these demands? And what do you think Joe Biden should do in response to AMLO's demands? Well, I know what Joe's going to do. He's going to do everything he can to serve this man and give him whatever he wants. He's afraid of him, like anybody else. And what has he done before? He goes over there and humps his leg. Gets us nothing. I'm saying Joe humps AMLO's leg. AMLO doesn't hump Joe's leg. AMLO humps Trump's leg, but Joe humps AMLO's leg. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, I'm going to give you more details on this blackmail that's being attempted by the Mexican president, and also more illegals have committed horrific acts on our citizens. A new illegal in Michigan killing a woman. I'll tell you about that. And thousands of illegals could be released in days from a federal shelter in Arizona because they've run out of money. All that next to the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. AMLO, the Mexican president, says the flow of illegal migrants will continue unless the U.S. meets his demands. Now, I played it for you a second ago, but I'm going to read a little bit here because when you read it and go over it, you can see everybody thinks you have the power in this moment to slow down migration. Do you plan to? The 60 Minutes correspondent asked. AMLO said, we do. We want to continue doing it, but we do want for the root causes to be attended to, for them to be seriously looked at. If they don't do the things that you've said you need to be done, then what? The flow of illegal migrants will continue. And that's it. I mean, he literally says, I own you. I've got a hose, and I'm turning it on or shutting it off on my command, and I'm spraying you with this hose of water that is hurting you. And if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to keep spraying you with this water. And what is Joe doing? Joe is standing there soaking wet and doesn't know what to do. Actually, for the first year or two, he told us everything was great, that the border was the most secure border in history, and there was no problem. Now that he's down by 30 to 40 points on Trump with illegal immigration, He's blaming the Republicans for a bill that wouldn't have stopped any of this anyways. AMLO says, she says, your critics have said what you're saying, what you're doing is asking for help to secure the border is diplomatic blackmail. What do you say? And he said, I'm speaking frankly. He says, I'm speaking frankly. We have to say things as they are, and I always say what I feel. I always say what I think. If they don't do these things, will you continue to help secure the border? Yes, because our relationship is important. It's fundamental. But basically the flow, he literally directly says, the hose is wide open. I'm spraying you with it, and I'm not going to stop until you give me what I want, which is $20 billion to my friends in corrupt third world countries. Lift sanctions on Venezuela, our enemy, and besties with they are communist, Marxist besties with Iran and Cuba, etc. Lift sanctions on Venezuela and the Cuban embargo and legalize illegals, Mexican illegals in the U.S. So what are there? Probably 10 million of them here that are illegal. I mean, as far as Mexican nationals that are here, and he wants us to legalize all of them. Otherwise, he's going to keep spraying us with water, a hose of illegals. So this is. It's just unequivocal blackmail. Who do you think is in control here? The U.S. or Mexico? I think Mexico's in control, clearly. Mexico is in control. We are not. But it's by choice. Joe's choosing to be let AMLO control it. He literally is. It's clear as day here. And are you interested? So who do you think is in control here, the U.S. or Mexico? And are you interested in negotiating with AMLO in these demands? And what do you think Joe Biden should do in response to AMLO's demands? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. He should do what Trump did and say, we're going to slap a tariff on everything you send over from your country. Everything. Effective immediately. And in whatever, a week. He had a problem with France. He picked up the phone. He called him. I heard this in one of his interviews in the past several months. He picked up the phone and called him and said, here's the deal. If you don't do what we want you to do, I'm going to slap a excise tax or whatever to call it, a tax, a tariff on all of your champagne, every one of it, and your wine. And that's by Monday morning. That's it. You let me know. Bye. And that was like a Friday, and then France fixed it before Monday. Done. That's what real businessmen do. That's what real effective politicians, whether they're businessmen or not, do. Joe Biden doesn't do that. Joe Biden is beholden to a Mexican president who's a dictator of a third world. Well, I don't say he's a dictator, but he's a third world president, and he is controlled by the narco terrorists. And Joe Biden has made the narco terrorists rich, the cartels. Meanwhile, our number, by the way, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227, chime in. Illegal immigrant allegedly killing a Mexican woman in a carjacking gone wrong. This happened in Grand Rapids. A 25-year-old illegal, one of Joe's illegals, carjacked a woman and ended up killing her. So thanks, Joe. We appreciate that. Also, in New York City, they just started handing out illegal migrants taxpayer-funded prepaid debit cards at the Roosevelt Hotel Shelter. 450 people going to start getting up to $18,200 a year paid out by the end of this week. They're going to get a prepaid card with a week's worth of funds, up to $350 for a family of four. Welfare, more coming. And AMLO is making sure of that until we give him what he wants. Thousands of illegal migrants could be released in days from federal funding, as federal funding for Arizona shelters runs dry after record numbers of crossing over the border. It's all good. They elected a Democrat governor, so everything's fine over there, right? No action being done. More than 1,000 illegals could be released every day in Arizona from March 31st. You got 4 or 5 days, and 1,000 a day just dumped. Wow. Aid workers warned of homelessness on steroids as the illegal migrant shelter funding is running out. Governor Hobbs previously told lawmakers the state needs at least $752 million, almost $1 billion, $750 million to fund these illegal shelters. Joe Biden's illegals. He ain't paying for them. You are. By your daughters being robbed, raped, our wives being raped, robbed, and murdered by these people, carjacked and killed. And by stealing our wallets from us with all this stuff. This is insane. That's it right there. Aid workers have warned of homelessness on steroids. This is in the Daily Mail. Nonprofits and Local governments have been working with Border Patrol agents to transport the illegals to facilities all over Arizona. They gave 2 or 3 of them there. It's already a difficult homeless problem in Pima County. We're tirelessly working to solve or mitigate. Nope, enjoy them, the Joes. And AMLO is shooting the hose at you. First illegal migrant, 21, charged with assaulting Texas National Guardsmen during the El Paso stampede as the feds weigh charges against dozen ringleaders who planned uprising. Junior Evaristo Benitez, 21, of Honduras, was the only illegal migrant charged. At least a dozen other ringleader migrants, illegal migrants who planned the uprising, will also be charged, federal sources are saying to the Daily Mail. So he assaulted a guardsman, 21-year-old illegal from Honduras, and 600 illegals on that one that flooded. They weren't trying to peacefully enter. They were storming, blah, blah, blah. So the only reason they are being charged is because it was on TV. It was gotten on TV. All right, you're not going to believe this, but Sean Puff Daddy Combs comes out and releases a statement today defending himself, and a mega church pastor from DFW is now being named in a lawsuit against Puff Daddy Diddy Combs. Uh-oh, Rutro Rastro. Did you see that, producer Gary? Oh, boy. Preach! Hallelujah! Or is it something else? Ouch. Oh, boy, I wouldn't want to be Puff Daddy right now. Oh, he can keep his money. I ain't wanting to be that guy now. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. Keep that going. I love this song. I don't know who it is or what it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby. So our number, of course, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Okay, so Sean Puff Daddy Combs is declaring his innocence through his attorney after federal agents raid his homes. Look at this. HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, they raided his properties in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. That's not good. Everyone, or at least like 3 of your properties, I don't know how many he has. And HSI, one of the people that was one of the law enforcement experts on Fox News, said HSI means that there's sexual trafficking going on, is what that usually means. At least they're investigating sexual traffic. That's what I should say, because you don't know until it's proven guilty. Someone's proven guilty, but HSI means there's sex trafficking allegations. And we have Diddy's, quote, drug mule arrested at Miami airport at the same time his sons were put into cuffs during raids on his mansions. Brendan Paul, 25, arrested at Miami Opa-locka airport. 4:30 yesterday, accused in a lawsuit of procuring drugs for Diddy and associates. Lawsuit by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, also one of 5 against Puff Daddy since November. His whereabouts, Diddy Combs, Puff Daddy's whereabouts are unknown as of right now, according to the Daily Mail. His attorney spoke out. By the way, the Love Air LLC Gulfstream 5 jet was later tracked to the Caribbean island of Antigua, but he was not on board. This is some interesting stuff, right? It's getting crazy and crazier. This new lawsuit today released has an accuser adding Cuba Gooding Jr. to the lawsuit, sexual assault lawsuit. That makes sense, because remember the first time I heard of him with allegations was on a rooftop with a woman. Remember that one? She alleged he molested her, groped her breasts and stuff like that against her will. That was settled out of court. I remember that. That was a big one for a time. So this guy, Cuba Gooding, might have a lot of problems, get messed up with the wrong people. And I don't know if anybody here is guilty, but, I mean, none of this looks good, obviously. Rodney Jones, professionally known as Little Rod, accusing Gooding of sexually harassing and assaulting him in a new suit. Surgical producer, the surgical quote-unquote producer, claims Cuba Gooding was touching, groping, and fondling him during a party on a yacht rented by Puffy Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to Jones, he was extremely uncomfortable, proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding. He rejected his advances. Gooding Jr. did not stop till Jones forcibly pushed him away. As the owner of the property, Combs had a duty to stop him. And here's the headline from the Daily Mail yesterday. Puff Daddy's homes in L.A. and Miami raided on Homeland Security as part of sex trafficking probe after mounting lawsuits. Another person said they don't do this unless they got something on this guy. A number, of course, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Why do you think Puffy Combs would put his entire empire at risk to get involved in sex trafficking? I have a theory. I'll tell you about that in a second. But why do you think Combs would put his entire empire at risk to get involved in sex trafficking? Why do you think there's going to be, do you think there's going to be a whole bunch of celebrities that get caught up in this alleged trafficking scheme? Did you hear Prince Harry mentioned in this today? Ruh-roh, Rastro! Do we have another Epstein unfolding? What do you think? Do you think Diddy looks like the new Epstein to you? I don't ever bring up Epstein without telling you my favorite ornament of all time is an ornament with Epstein's face on it, and it says, "This ornament didn't hang itself." Our number is 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Prince Harry name-dropped in $30 million sex trafficking lawsuit against Diddy Combs. I'll share that with you in a second. Lois in Fort Worth, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, Lois.
Hi. I have a thought of my own because I recall back a few months ago that P. Diddy came out and supported Trump. I believe he even visited with him. That's all I need to know, that our great government could create enough of this nonsense.
Interesting.
To convict him.
You think this is a Trump thing, which, who knows? You think it's a Trump thing?
I don't even have any of. I just remember seeing him with Trump. I think this is this is a message to every black person in the United States: do not support Trump.
I think I did see something about that with him, and I'll verify that in the next segment. I'll take a look at that for a little bit. I'll peruse that. So you're saying it's a setup because he may be a good friend of Trump's or like Trump? Totally.
I don't know about the other ones, but I do remember seeing that, and that was the first thing that crossed my mind. Oh yes, they're going to pick somebody big like that to put all their lies together. And
I don't know for sure, but we have his former music producer suing him for sexual harassment on his boat. We have Prince William being mentioned at a party with him that they hosted in 2007.
Those people can all be bribed.
Sure. We have his ex-girlfriend, Cassie, sued him for rape and decades-long physical abuse.
He had made settlement with her?
Huh?
He had previously made settlement with her.
I don't know for sure. I'm not doubting you. So you think that the Homeland Security Investigations is raiding him because it's Trump supporter? I think it's interesting. We'll check it out. I appreciate your call, Lois. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. You want to really get shocked on this case? A mega church pastor who we all have heard of and we all know who this guy is, named in a lawsuit against Puff Daddy. And this guy ain't no Trump supporter, I will tell you that.